From the Ringer, this according to an executive on an Eastern Conference team, there's no doubt he's leaving once his contract ends. That's about Donovan Mitchell from the Ringer. We also have heard from Chris Fedor, the Wine and Gold Talk podcast, talked about some interesting things going on with Donovan Mitchell's commitment to the Cavaliers. Let's welcome in Chris Fedor, Cavs beat reporter from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Chris, I know you talked about it on the Wine and Gold Talk podcast. Take us through that whole situation. And, you know, from the outside, everybody's saying, oh, Mitchell's gone. It doesn't sound like that's the case, at least internally.
Look, Dave, nobody knows what Donovan Mitchell is going to do beyond this year. I think a big part of his decision when it comes to his future and where he's going to latch on is going to be tied to what the Cavs do in the postseason this year, because I've had numerous conversations with Donovan Mitchell about what drives him in the NBA, what matters to him. And maybe there's part of him that always just wants to play in New York. That's something that he envisions for his career. He hasn't expressed that publicly, but maybe deep down, that's something that he's thinking about. But that's later on down the road. Right now, it's about winning championships. And for him, he has a nasty reputation here of a guy who cannot get out of the second round of the playoffs, despite the fact that he's led every single team that he's been on for every single year that he's been in the NBA to the playoffs. He has never gotten past the second round of the playoffs. And this is a guy who's playing at an MVP level. He believes he's in the prime of his career, and he believes that he's ready to compete for championships. So I think the question surrounding the Cavs is, are the guys that he's going to be committing to, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, and some of the other younger players, is there a level of readiness from them to compete for championships? And if Donovan determines that, you know, all of those guys are ready to compete at the same level that he's ready to compete at, then it's going to be really, really difficult for him to look around the NBA and find a better basketball situation than right here in Cleveland, where he knows it works with him and Darius Garland, right? He knows that this group won 51 games last year. He knows this group is second place in the Eastern Conference right now, a legitimate championship contending team. A team that is right there in the mix with Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Boston, New York, and any other team that you want to throw out there in the Eastern Conference. And I think we can admit that Boston's on a different level, but the Cavs are on the second tier of teams in the Eastern Conference. That's a really, really good place to be. So unless Donovan finds something that has the same kind of basketball setup as what's here in Cleveland, I find it hard to believe that he's just going to be like, you know what? I'm just going to up and go to Brooklyn because it's New York. You know what I mean? Like maybe the Los Angeles Lakers give him a better shot to compete for a championship because there's a level of readiness and maturity on that roster than what exists here in Cleveland. But I just don't think that the Cavs or Donovan or anybody like that is in any hurry to figure out what his future is going to be beyond this year until the Cavs go through a playoff series or two and see what this all looks like.
Does he appear to be happy? Does he appear to like Cleveland from what you can tell? You're in the locker room as much as anybody.
Look, everybody can sit here and say, well, he's just saying all the right things, but the things that he's saying are backed up by actions. And since he came here, Dave, like this was a guy who learned on a Miami Beach golf course that he wasn't going to New York. Like for all of the speculation, all of the trade rumors linking him to the New York Knicks last September, he learned that he was not going to the New York Knicks and he was going to the Cleveland Cavaliers instead. And his response to hearing that news was running around with joy and thinking about playing alongside Darius Garland and thinking about the future of the Cavs. So it's not somebody who was like, oh man, I didn't get traded to New York. It was, all right, let's see what we got here in Cleveland. And then they win 51 games last year, and he has a great year for them. He starts for the Eastern Conference in the All-Star game. And then this year, this summer, he helped recruit Max Strus. He helped recruit George Niang. He helped recruit Ty Jerome in free agency. And then he set up multiple player-organized team get-togethers in the offseason. One of those in Connecticut where he lives so that he could get all of the guys together ahead of the season so that they could take off in training camp, so that they could build camaraderie. So this is a guy who has acted happy, said that he's been happy, said that he believes in the direction of the organization and his teammates, and he has backed that up every step of the way. The only thing that he hasn't done to fully commit to this organization is sign the contract extension this past offseason, which didn't make financial sense for him to do that. He is happy here. He says to everybody that is willing to listen, I am happy here. I believe in this group that we have here. And there's no reason for him to be unhappy. This is one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference.